and welcome to DM Talks, where we're gonna look at the essence of chess. What is the deepest understanding you can have of chess? It's the theory of chess, the fundamental theorem. That sounds very far-fetched, and it is a little bit deep, but it's also very simple. In general, the secret to good chess is when it's your move, you try to make the best move possible. Or you make the best move possible. So every time you make the best move possible, you gain, and every time you don't, the opponent gains. It's a little bit like Sklansky's theory of poker, where he explained that every time you do something like you would have done, if you could see the opponent's cards, then you gain, and every time you do something different, if you could see the opponent's card, you lose. So it sounds very, very, very complex and a little abstract. So let's get into this. What is it you should think about? Well, one of the things is to zoom out when you play. So saying, does this improve my position or does it weaken it? And that's actually what it's about. Every time you make a move, you try to improve your position, you try to make it better. And of course, it can be very different. There's a very big difference between if it's an end game where you have to play precise, and it is actually theory. It is known what is the best way, or a very complex middle game position where there can be wild swings, but it still applies to every position. It's sort of a balancing thing that you can sort of, if you make the best move and everybody makes the best move, of course it will be a draw, but you're trying to make the best. Oops, sorry, this is not how it's supposed to go. Let's see. So we have Nakamura versus Tari in the Norway Chess. It's classical chess. It's full time control. Bishop c4, the bishop opening. It's maybe not the best opening. Of course, knight f3 is more common, but Nakamura probably didn't want to face Tari's preparation, which is known to be pretty good. Also, he could be a little bit annoyed by the Petrov. So we have a typical bishop opening, knight c3. White shows that he's ready to play f4 if possible. The Vienna, which is, well, I think Gustafsson had some analysis that showed that black was fine, but people are a little bit worried about this. But this is supposed to be a good move. Of course, if f4, then you go d5 now, and then it's probably be nice for black. So he goes back d6, and this setup is sort of nice for black, that it's not having the knight here, whereas this knight here is a little bit clumsy, that guy here. Okay, so anyway, nothing really have happened according to the fundamental theorem of chess. The theory of chess, both are making good moves. None of them are giving anything away. And that's sort of what it's about, this fundamental theorem of chess, is that you try not to give anything away, and you try to, of course, take. And every time your opponent gives you something, you gain. And every time you give something, they gain. It's a little bit like the movie 300, where they say, give them nothing and take from them everything. Okay, let's get on with it. A3, avoiding any kind of interference here. It's a natural move. It cannot be a bad move. It cannot be like the most precise move, but it's definitely not a bad move. And knight f3. A5, white is starting to, black is starting to one of the maneuvers white would like to do is put the knight here. So we know that having the knights on these two squares here is pretty nice. But because then they control a lot of squares on the king side, and white is sort of hoping to start an attack on the black king with a lot of pieces. He would have the bishop getting here, sometimes on this diagonal, sometimes on this diagonal in the Spanish, and we have this bishop this way, and then we have two knights, and if you can get the queen in as well, you will have a strong attack. Anyway, with a5, this maneuver is no longer possible, because then comes a5. So that cannot be a bad move. Knight bd7, a3, that is prophylaxis against the a4. So white is preparing this move, probably. Maybe he's preparing this move without, and black takes some space on the queen side. So far, both are making natural moves. Bishop a2, getting the bishop out of the way. There will be no hitting with tempo here, which is probably nice. A4 also looks natural. It cannot be the bad move. Knight h4, we see that, okay, white is having an idea here. He wants to get his pieces in. He gave up on the knight e2 idea. I don't know why. Maybe because of d5. Anyway, this looks also very natural. So far, nothing to see here. Please notice that this is not possible because after something like this, the queen here is lost. It's trapped. Okay. And bishop a7, I think the computers slightly prefer bishop b6. It's somehow more harmonious, and the knight is never going to use b6, the queen never going to use b6, so maybe the bishop should be there. Then it also have the possibility to go to a5, so that's slightly more flexible. Also, it looks better on c7 than it does on b8. Anyway, bishop a7 cannot really alter anything. Queen f3, natural move. This is what you do in these positions. Put the knight here, and then maybe here, and then you mate black on this square, right? This is what we are all aiming for. Or if black has to weaken it, then this one really helps in the attack here. Knight c5. Getting ready to avoid any kind of trouble here, and black is not afraid of this move apparently, which looks a little bit annoying, but it's maybe nothing really. So knight f5 coming in and take. And that's a little bit surprising. You could argue for something like knight e6, not being afraid, but taking is not really bad, but it is somehow, if you zoom out, one of the things grandmasters know is that bishops, they are slightly better than knights. Not much, but slightly better than knights. You prefer a bishop. Well, most players do. Of course, if it's a bad bishop, then you don't prefer it, but probably can defend. But in general, bishops are preferred to knights in most positions. So giving a bishop to a knight is a slight concession. And that's not what you want to do if you're following the theory of chess. The fundamental theorem is to give nothing away. So if you could avoid it, you would. And I think knight e6 is possible with the plan just to go here. It looks a little bit scary, but I don't think there's anything at the moment, but you of course have to be careful. But solving the problem immediately also makes sense. And the queen is a little bit clumsy here. It looks active, but it's also a little bit clumsy. Rook e8 and bishop d2, knight e6. And of course, black is preparing this one. This actually could be really annoying for white because it will hit both the queen and the pawn. So of course here again, and we see that white has no problem with the knight. d5. So black takes over the center as the first one to do something here. Of course, this one is not available due to knight d4, but it does look a little bit clumsy, and also of course it does sort of kill the bishop, but we also feel that it's not killed completely, right? Still interesting position, probably around equal. White has good pieces, good bishops, and active play, but black has a little bit more space and some nice center here. Rook a e1. Of course, this one is the one we are looking for. Queen d6. defending the pawn. And of course, white's problem is that if he would like to take away this square for black with c3, but that seriously weakens this pawn. Queen g4, getting out of the breath from this one. Rook here, and all this is very, very natural. It's centralizing, and that's if you don't know what to do in a position, centralize. This is and if you're not sure your attack is strong enough yet, centralize. And in general, whenever in doubt, centralize. This is not the fundamental theorem of poker, but this is very true. There's something we learned with Kramnik, is that centralizing is always a good strategy, more or less. Of course, if the center is blocked, there's no reason to centralize. But in general, put those rooks in the center. Knight d4, and we are having active pieces here. Both sides have good, nice pieces. Bishop d5, and this is a little provocative because black is threatening this one, and it's annoying for white that this one is threatened, right? It's this knight is pretty strong here on d4. Here, black should definitely play something like f6. It does weaken this diagonal, but it but it also gives time to take away this one, completely ruin white's structure. After something like this one here, of course black would do something maybe like this, and you have to be careful here. You're about to be mated, and maybe, I don't know, if you play something like maybe just this one, I don't know. Anyway, and this looks a bit scary, but I think it's okay. Anyway, f6 it looks definitely okay for black. And instead he played rook b8, not wanting to weaken the position. And this is the hard thing about chess, and also about the theory of chess, because of course you don't want to weaken your position, but sometimes you have to weaken it, and knowing when is the really difficult thing in chess. Knowing when to do what, when does the rule apply, when does it not apply, is the really, really hard thing about chess. Bishop e3 with a nice little pin here, and if black was to take, then this one is again open. Queen g6, and now it starts to crumble for black, because this is a little bit annoying, and white is playing. And by the way, Nakamura is very good in these kind of positions. He's just so hard, and it's kind of interesting that he does not take on g6, even though it probably would have been a bad structure for black, and he doesn't mind his structure because he's about the space, knowing when to control the space and when weaknesses are important. Anyway, it's not a disaster yet, but it's starting to. And queen b3, knight b3, blocking the bishop, so we see that we do get some benefit from this pawn. It's making sure this guy here is stuck on this one. But on the other hand, this pawn could turn out weak. But at the same time, this bishop is now pretty strong. I keep doing that. Knight e4, natural move, also a kind of a nice move. You want to get prevent the queen from taking here and centralizing it. It could go here, it could go here, and so on. And it looks like it's just natural move, take. And we can say that this structure here is not the one you really want with white, but it does make sure that white actually has black's structure completely under control. So I think you can say that white is slightly better here. Here, a natural move would be something like this. and we'll have to do this, and maybe here I think if you play something like this, it's still very interesting position. Probably white is slightly better here, but it's not much. It's definitely not much, and it's a fully fledged fight ahead. Instead, black panics and plays c5, and that's definitely violating the fundamental theorem of chess. That is, he's giving away too much here. He's afraid of d4, but that was the lesser evil. Now this bishop is getting blocked out, and white strikes immediately. He senses what's going on here and takes the knight and blocks the bishop. Well, by the way, he didn't have to block the bishop, because he could also play something like this. This bishop is just messed up now. It's not going to be good even after c4. It's not gonna be a good bishop. You can just take and play king e2, or play king e2 immediately, or rook or something. This knight is really good. This bishop will never really attack anything, and these pawns will be very weak. So black is in trouble already, of course, but this is a natural move. It makes a lot of sense just immediately saying, okay, you got a bishop with a view here on a7, and we clearly sense that black is now in trouble. Still, if black was a computer, I'm not sure that that Nakamura would win, because a computer can defend very well, and it doesn't give any century pawns away. But of course, a human will start to be pretty desperate here with this piece of wood sitting on a7. Trying to attack. Rook d7, king f2. The king is coming to the rescue here, and basically white is just preparing to win some pawns later. This knight is a monster. This bishop is a disaster, and white has won the strategic battle here. h5, very desperate. Unfortunately, it doesn't help really much. But we see that this grip white got with the pawn here is really annoying black. So he's prepared to give a pawn up. Unfortunately, it doesn't change anything. b4, and here I think you should just take. That would be the smartest move. But still, this move is fine. Keeping bishop completely under control. We have weak pawns everywhere, and this bishop is still a mess, and there's nothing to attack. The king is coming here, and so on. Black, of course, tries something, and this is total panic. Take, and to avoid just a completely hopeless rook ending, he tries to keep the knight on the board, the bishop on the board, and giving a check, but it doesn't really change much here. And we see that black's structure and so on is completely messed. These two pawns are ready for the taking. These two are, we should make them different colors, are passed pawns. The fundamental theorem of chess is no longer applicable. Here is just good technique. And good technique is, again, like we said earlier, it's control, which is also sort of the theory of chess. Just don't give anything away. Try to maximize every move, and then you will win. Of course, knowing what is maximizing and what's not maximizing is what differentiates the good player from the bad players or the better players. And here this move is kind of cool. There will be a nasty pin here, so not so easy. And black is desperate to try something. c5, pretty nice little thing here. Black is completely busted now. Something like this is just not working. You just take here, and the pin is winning a piece. Or if you take, if you take something like this, then I think this one is pretty annoying. So just winning something again. So c5 is absolutely devastating. Rook g5, hoping for some sort of counterplay. Knight goes in. Nasty little, the pin is gone. Then the knight is threatening here, and so on, and the bishop is also threatened. So and rook c6, and final little combination here. Of course, knight e4 also wins. Anything wins here, but this is the easiest. After this move, the whites get a new queen, and so on. And after this move, it's the same. And black white queens. So that was it for this game and the theory of chess. So the key takeaway here is to realize that every time you make a move, try to go up and say, does it improve my position? Will my evaluation, the centripawn evaluation, will it go up or will it go down? And if it goes up, then you're playing according to the fundamental theorem of chess, not poker, and you will do well. Actually, if you can do that in every move, you will become world champion. So good luck with that. It's easier said than done. This was GM Talks. Remember to sign up for the newsletter. Remember to so you get all the new videos when they come out. And remember to like, to share, and so on, and see all the other videos and so on. And thank you for your support. It's nice to explain chess to people who are so interested in it.